Canada Post announced today it is launching a pilot project on same-day parcel delivery service. Now, this is a partnership with some major retailers, Walmart, Best Buy, Indigo. The post office will charge retailers and you for the service. It's rather unique, actually. You order before noon and it should come to your home or office between 5 and 9 p.m. at night. The plan comes just after the Crown Corporation reported a loss of $104 million, 104 taxpayer dollars, in August. So is it a last-ditch effort to save the postal service, or is it time to privatize Canada Post? We've got John Hamilton of the Canada Post. He's the Manager of Communications and Strategy, joining us from Ottawa. And Ken Moody is with the Canadian Postal Workers Union. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. I'm going to ask you both the same question, but Mr. Hamilton, we'll have you go first. Canada Post is losing money, millions of dollars. Is it time to make the argument, or can you make the argument for me, that we should hang on to Canada Post?
Hopefully I can do that. I think, first of all, you have to look at the announcement we made today. That signals where our future is. E-commerce, online shopping, is driving parcel growth, and nobody delivers more parcels in Canada, especially to consumers, than Canada Post. We're good at it. We've been doing it for many years, going back to the old days of the Eaton's catalog. With e-commerce, that is a growing business, and there's nobody that can serve all 15.3 million Canadian addresses like Canada Post. On the other side, and where the financial issues are coming from, is the fact that mail is on the decline. In 2012, we delivered 1 billion fewer letters than we did in 2006, and that kind of shows the size of the drop. That's causing financial issues, and it means that we need to transform to a future where we're delivering more parcels and less mail, and it's not going to be easy, but consumers are already telling us, we want you to deliver more parcels, so catch up and give us the kind of service we need.
All right, Mr. Mooney.
Is it time to toss in the towel? I say not. As it currently stands, we have a quarterly result that was posted. It's generated some controversy because it represents a net loss for that particular quarter, but not for the year in general. And anyone who's had any involvement with Canada Post financial performance knows that most of the revenue is generated in the last quarter of the year. So no, the time is not here to toss in the towel in terms of Canada Post. Not time to privatize. What we have to do is just look at new ways to innovate and to adapt to an ever-changing marketplace, which everyone recognizes. Canada Post, like any other organization, cannot remain static. So there has to be ways in which it adapts to the future to meet future challenges and to continue to be viable. And the current pilot project that's taking place back in Toronto provides for one-day delivery. So consumers can order a product online from, I think we're using Future Shop, Best Buy, Indigo Books, and Walmart. You can order from those particular companies, and if you do so by 1 o'clock, you'll have your product by 9 o'clock that evening. So it's an innovation. It's something that's a departure from Canada Post services, and it's one of those measures that has to be considered in terms of meeting future challenges.
Mr. Hamilton, though, what kind of money is Canada Post expecting to make on this kind of a plan? I mean, certainly it would work in metro areas, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, but it isn't going to work across much of Canada where you simply don't have the time to get those purchased products from those stores to the customers who live very far away.
Yeah, well, first of all, on any given day in Toronto, we deliver 90,000 parcels. This pilot will only touch a handful of those parcels, but it's all about trying a new service that isn't available in the Canadian marketplace right now. And for the retailers to see if there's a niche for this, if people want this, if they want to pay more, or if they're going to demand it. For us, it's to make sure that we can do it when faced with some of the toughest rush hour traffic you're going to find in the country. But it's really about, when you look at e-commerce, parcel delivery used to be, you kind of just waited for it to show up. Now, e-commerce is about people buying things that they want it soon, but they're delivering it right to the home. We do that better than anybody else, and people are looking for the convenience of the end delivery to be just the same as the convenience of ordering it online. It hasn't been to date, but that's why we're working with retailers, major retailers, as you're seeing, to innovate and find new solutions. We put out a mobile app. 1 million people have downloaded that. The average person, once they order something online, they'll check that 5 times a day to see where that parcel is in the system. We've had to make investments so that people can have that kind of visibility, but that's the kind of innovation that we need to continue to roll out so that the end experience is just as convenient as going to the store.
But as consumers here, we already have several choices for couriers. We don't have to rely on Canada Post to do that. I can call, I don't want to name them all and give them free advertising, but I can call any one of those couriers that exist in Canada to have my package delivered in a few hours. How are you going to be different from that? Better than that?
Well, I think first off, you've hit the nail on the head that this is a very competitive business, and we need to be as good, if not better, than the competition. I think there are advantages that we have. First off, there's nobody else that's going to serve all 15.3 Canadian addresses. Any major logistic or delivery company looks for countries that are densely populated with a relatively small geography. We have the exact opposite of that. So over 250 years of serving this great country, we figured out how to do that and do it well. We also have other options, like we have 6,400 post offices where if you don't want your parcel delivered at home, then you can have it delivered to the post office of your choice, which is usually closer than the competitors will send it because it'll usually go to the airport.
But it could often also be in a drugstore or somewhere, and it could be closed when I show up. Is this one of the sort of unusual times where the union and the company agree on something, Mr. Mooney?
I don't like to use the word unusual. I'd say that it's one of the times that we agree, and we have a mutual interest in seeing Canada Post move forward and remain profitable in the future. All of our livelihoods depend on it. The extent to which this might be rolled out throughout Canada might be, remains to be seen. But it's a pilot project that represents a willingness to engage in innovative measures to remain marketable in the future.
What about the possibility of shortening the number of days that mail is delivered to Canadians? I'm one of those people who gets mail in a standard box, down the street from my house. It took some time getting used to. I, grew up with door service, but I now go to that box, and because it's a little way from my house, I don't go every day. I might go once a week. For somebody like me who gets very little mail, and that's starting to add up, the number of Canadians who don't get a lot in the mail, once a week would be enough.
Well, that might be your opinion, but I think the majority of Canadians don't feel that way, and not all of them live in major urban centres. A lot of them live in rural areas where they depend on the post office to provide them with a service that provides them with a link to the rest of Canada. I mean, frankly, Canada Post is part of Canada's social fabric. I don't think
it's certainly part of our tradition.
It certainly is.
But that doesn't mean that it has to stay forever and a day necessarily.
Well, I don't think there's any need to change the current paradigm. It's daily delivery. It's called for by the Conservative government's Canada Post Service Charter. They call for regular delivery for all Canadians every day. I don't see any reason why that needs to be changed, and I wouldn't be thrown off by some of the current financial numbers that have been tossed around. Prior to 2011, Canada Post made profits every year. In 2012, there was, 2011, there was a lockout. There was a nationwide lockout, and any company that provokes a labor disruption is going to expect to have an impact on its financial standing. And furthermore, there was also an artificial loss applied against 2011's financial picture. It was a result of the pay equity dispute that ended up in federal court.
Right, but that's in the past. With all due respect, that's in the past. And we're looking at current losses.
Yes.
And the market is changing. Go ahead, Mr. Hamilton.
Sure, and I think you really just have to look at the mail business. And it's been, the decline is there year over year, and some years will be better financially than others. The long-term forecast, the Conference Board looked at things and said $1 billion by 2020 a year, which is problematic. And this year, we kept our head above water in the first quarter of this year because we sold our very large building in Vancouver at a nice price, but unfortunately, we don't have a couple of acres of downtown property in Vancouver to sell every quarter to keep ourselves profitable.
I take some issue with the reference to the Conference Board report. It was generated by the Council of, it's an organization called the Conference Board of Canada. The current Chief Executive Officer of Canada Post sits on that board. It was paid for by Canada Post, and the report put out some projections, and they were real dire financial projections, but they were based on false financial figures, the first being 2012's alleged projected net loss. Never happened. Canada Post made $127 million in profit that year. If I commissioned that report, I'd be asking for my money back.
So you're alleging that the numbers they're spitting out aren't the reality, aren't the truth?
I think they're contradicted by Canada Post's annual report.
Mr. Hamilton? Mr. Hamilton, did you hear that? Apparently, he can no longer hear us.
He's lost. He has nothing to say.
No.
He agrees with me.
You were saved by a technical glitch, or he was. All right, I want to thank you for joining us both. This is Ken Mooney in studio with the Canadian Postal Workers Union, and that was John Hamilton, the manager of communications strategy for Canada Post in Ottawa.